I want to welcome Agile XRM to the podcast. I've known the people at Agile XRM for the past 12 years. I've seen how their business process management tool can add massive value to complex organizational processes in sectors such as finance and government. If you have complex processes or a need for dialogues on the Power Platform or Dynamics 365, take a look at how this BPM tool can add value. You can find them at agilexrm.com or check out the show notes for more details. Welcome to the MVP Show. My intention is that you listen to the stories of these MVP guests and are inspired to become an MVP and bring value to the world through your skills. If you have not checked it out already, I do a YouTube series called How to Become an MVP. The link is in the show notes. With that, let's get on with the show. Today's guest is from the US. He's a senior ERP developer at Blue Dragonfly. His first award is MVP in 2014, so therefore he is about to get a blue disc for his trophy cabinet for the 10-year marker. He has over 20 years experience analyzing business processes and implementing transformation systems in diverse industries. You can find links to his bio and social media in the show notes for this episode. Welcome to the show, Steve.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
So 10 years as an MVP, that's a bit of a milestone.
Yeah, the years do pass quickly, as you know, and watching the kids grow, it's like, where does the time go? But yep, it's been a fun journey. It's been fantastic. Enjoyed every minute of it.
Tell me your story that doesn't involve tech. Tell me about food, family, and fun. What does that mean in your day-to-day?
Oh my gosh. That's a surprisingly difficult question. Food, family, and fun. Well, it starts early morning, 6:30 in the morning. I get up, I drag myself out of bed. You know, it's tough getting old, but I force myself to walk every morning. I head out to the park down the street, walk a mile, get ready, take the kids to school, drop them off, head right back, start off with conference calls and, you know, the typical day, then go grocery shopping, cook dinner, pick up the kids from school. So typical busy day and the time just flies. I don't know that I have anything terribly notable. We just went to...
Hobbies?
Pardon?
Do you have any hobbies?
My hobbies are all tech. Which is what makes my work so enjoyable. I get that people want to walk away from their computer and get away from their desk and get away from work, but like I don't mind it. I enjoy every minute of it, and when I'm not doing work for customers, I'm learning some new tool or technology, or getting some different certification outside of what I normally do on a daily basis. I'm just kind of I'm a super geek, unapologetic super geek. How's that?
Nice. You've seen some changes in your time. My understanding, you focus on Dynamics 365 Business Central, and therefore you've gone through the transition from Navision, NAV, and into Business Central land, and you've probably also seen that for some time. The categorization of Business Central against Microsoft's Dynamics 365 Finance has had an interesting position in market. In fact, I saw somebody come out with a flow diagram of all the different tech for Microsoft, and they're like, Dynamics 365 Finance is for enterprise, and mid-market is Business Central, which I find very interesting because the company I work in, we have a global deployment of BC for a customer, which is in the top 100 companies in the world. And it is very much enterprise applied. And there's been this weird thing, and I think it's whether it's come from marketing or what, that Business Central's not enterprise. And when I see a global top 100 company, I'm going, it seems pretty enterprise to me if it can handle that scenario. And I think it's been a weird classification over its history. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I started with a Microsoft Dynamics GP just before it was acquired by Microsoft back in 2004. So my niche,
Fargo special.
Yeah, my niche is mid-market. That's what I did right out of college. I was implementing Solomon 4 for Windows. I've done PeopleSoft and then went on to work with GP. So as I'm currently still supporting over 350, 400 Dynamics GP customers through the software I sell. And the software I sell is targeting the largest, highest volume Dynamics GP customers in the United States and even in South America and overseas. So I support $3 billion public companies that use Dynamics GP. Some of those companies process 20,000 transactions a day. We have one customer that processes hundreds of thousands of transactions a day, 24 hours a day, just nonstop. And I think the differentiator for those large, super large enterprise customers that use GP or Business Central or any other ERP system, they're only using it for, say, financials. They are not using it for operations. They're not using it for treasury management. They're not using it for global distribution. They have 17 different systems in their environment that handle all of those, quote, enterprise needs. They're special purpose, best of breed systems, but they just all feed the financial transactions in the ERP system. And at that point, it doesn't matter whether you're using GP or BC we've had $100 million customers using QuickBooks and migrating to a Microsoft solution. So that, I think, is what I've seen that explains how a multi-billion-dollar company can use these ERP packages that are normally classified as mid-market. Now, could they benefit from a, quote, integrated ERP solution at the enterprise level like finance and operations? Maybe. Do they want to spend $3+ million implementing those solutions? Probably not. So
interesting. Do you classify yourself now as more focused on BC as opposed to GP or Navision?
Yes. So I do still support hundreds of customers on GP, but I call that my day job. But all of my focus going forward is on Business Central. So I have a business partner that together we started Blue Dragonfly, and that's focused on Business Central application development, ISV solutions, and custom solutions for customers, so customizations that they may need. And she handles implementation, training, configuration, and support. So we're working together. We have a growing team, and we're 100% focused on Business Central.
Has there been any temptation to embrace other parts of the Dynamics 365 stack over your career?
Only as a supplemental tool internally or to help a customer. So internally, we do have, I don't even know what they call it these days, 365 sales. I call it CRM. And so we do have CRM internally. We do have that integrated with Business Central. When a customer downloads and installs our application from Microsoft App Source for Business Central, we automatically capture their registration. It feeds through Azure Functions, our registration system, and then that flows right into the Microsoft CRM API. So we have a lead, we have automatic emails going out. So we use it internally. We don't actively sell it just because it requires a different skill set, a different focus, but we're well aware of it and think it has a place. We are aware of Power Platform. We don't really focus on it. It has some use cases that we might consider. We're big users of Azure internally. Our developer who is in India, he and I have worked together for years. He and I both have extensive .NET and Azure experience. So we have geographically distributed Azure Functions, Azure SQL databases, and that's our back-end systems. So I think there are a lot of pieces. As you've mentioned in our initial discussion, the list of products in the Dynamics ecosystem, or whatever it's called these days, it's an endless list. I don't have time to figure out what the current name is or what the product offering is, but I think there are opportunities for some of those products. But with that said, Business Central on its own is moving so fast that I, as an MVP that is just laser focused on that product, can barely keep up with the pace that Microsoft has with that one product. They do a major release every 6 months. They do what they call a minor release every month. Every single month, there's a release that can have new functionality and or breaking changes. And it's as significant as you need to be aware of this because you need to change your code to deal with potentially deprecated features. So it is a full-time job, and I don't even try to keep up with the other products. And I think what did they rename Azure Active Directory to Entra now? So I just can't keep up, and I accept that. And I do not try to be a specialist of everything. Side story, I once met a woman in Fargo, North Dakota at a Dynamics GP conference. She worked for a partner or CSP or whatever they were, who claimed to support Dynamics GP, Business Central, F&O, and CRM and whatever else. They claim to support everything. She claimed to be an expert in GP, Navision, Business Central, and F&O. I can't doubt her, but I'm just highly skeptical that anyone can truly be an expert across all three of those vast product offerings, right? She claimed she did support calls.
15 years ago, maybe?
Yeah. I mean, hats off to her. If she can figure out those three products, I can barely wrap my head. I just had a call about how we're going to configure sales tax for a customer in Business Central. In a 1-hour call, we're still strategizing on how we're going to deal with this. So it's fairly complex, right?
Exactly. The ecosystem has grown so large. I mean, the size of the Microsoft engineering pool across these products are, eye-watering large now, and what they've grown to in the last, 5 to 10 years. So, I encourage people to develop, it used to be what we'd call a T consultant. So you're kind of broad across everything, but you had a real good depth of knowledge. I've kind of switched to a W or an M, which is you really got to know three things really, really well, but also be broad. And, nowadays I'd say one of those legs of your W or your M, whichever you want, it needs to be AI, no matter what. Everybody needs to be developing their AI muscle, just with the speed that things are changing. The customers that you work with, do you find they're very they're traditional, or because ERPs are traditional? As in, I'm more like, you don't see ERP folks going, "Hey, we want to be on the bleeding edge," or even the cutting edge, right? They want stability, they want stableness, consistency. It's dealing with money after all. What's your mix of customers, kind of by industry mix, that type of thing that you would classify them in?
So years ago, Microsoft had a push within the ERP market telling partners that they really needed to specialize and have an industry focus and specialization, because that was the future. That's where the money's at, and that's how they differentiate themselves. And we would have 100 customers, and we would not have more than 3 in any given industry. So it was an impossible task. And the partners that attempted to do that, okay, maybe they got 3, 4, 5 customers, but are they going to turn down the law firm and the marketing firm and the professional services firm and the elevator repair firm? Like, there are so many in the mid-market, there are so many industries. This isn't, the Fortune 500. This isn't the Silicon Valley tech-focused market. This is the mid-market, in my case, of the United States. And there are millions of businesses. And to say that we are only going to focus on roof repair commercial contractors, like, it's just not going to happen in my world. So now there are specialists. I've heard of them. I can't imagine them. So I met someone who deals in the wine and liquor and spirits distribution industry, and that's all they do. And she is an expert in that industry. And when I said, "Hey, you're really smart. Would you want to come work for us?" She said, "No, I only deal with wine and liquor and spirits distribution." And I'm like, okay, you have carved out your niche, and she's probably the best wine and liquor and spirits consultant in the United States.
It's brilliant, and it's horses for courses, right? Everybody's got a different view, but that's I do remember that push from Microsoft. As we close, because we're already coming up on our 20-minute marker, tell me about becoming an MVP. What does it mean to you? How do you answer the question when people go, "Hey, I want to become an MVP," and they go, or you're in a position to go, "What are the benefits? Why would you want to be an MVP? Why would you want to stay an MVP for 10 plus years when it's something that every year requires a consistent give back to the community?" It's, you don't get your MVP because you did something 15 years ago. You get it because what happened in the last 12 months. And so therefore, and there's a bit of confusion. I see this kind of, I've got an MVP certification. No such thing as a certification of an MVP. You can't go and sit an exam and get it. How do you answer these type of questions that come your way?
Well, I'll choose to do some self-promotion and give you a non-conventional answer. How's that? As an MVP, I've had the privilege and opportunity to do some crazy things, like sit in front of a camera and decide to just live stream about some topic, any random topic that comes into my brain. And I now have well over 100 live streams that people somehow watch. I don't know why. And then I was asked, can I turn those into podcasts so that people can listen to them in the car, on the train, while doing dishes, cooking dinner with a family? Sure. So I'm doing that. As a result of that, I now have the incredible opportunity of being able to produce a message or share something with an audience that it greatly exceeds any audience I can get at a physical conference. It's a global, diverse, really interactive audience. As a result of the 10 plus years I've been doing this, I now have launched a new program that I'm calling ERP Center of Excellence in Latin America, because we have no user groups for Business Central in Latin America. We have them in the US, in Europe, in Africa, I think in Asia, not a single one from Mexico all the way down to Argentina. That seemed very strange. And so I said, what's going on here? So as a result of being an MVP, someone from Mexico just randomly reached out to me and says, hey, can we talk about jobs and career opportunities and how I interact with US partners? It's like, ding, here we go. I've launched this project. I have a logo. I am basing it out of El Salvador. I've been in touch with some large partners in El Salvador, someone from Ecuador that I've worked with previously. They said, hey, anything you need, we are on board with you. So I'm in touch with nonprofits who do job placement and job retraining in El Salvador. And hopefully by November, I'm going to have a full Business Central training curriculum. I'm going to have classroom training. We're resurrecting the MCT program for Business Central, which hasn't existed for GP and NAV in well over a decade. So this is the power of the relationships and the identity and the effort that comes after a decade of being an MVP. And I do not take it for granted. I'm going to be working my butt off for years now, building this Latin America program, getting user groups set up. Our first user group we're trying to set up in El Salvador, already in progress with that. And I want to train hundreds, if not thousands of people over the next several years. I want to have Latin America and US employers lined up, ready to hire the next group of students who graduate or complete this training program. So that is the power of the MVP.
I love it. Are you doing it in Spanish?
No, actually, the goal is to do it exclusively in English. In El Salvador, they do not want Spanish training. They do not want Spanish documentation. All of the universities are 100% English focused. All of the top employers there demand very high English proficiency from their employees, and they fully service U.S. customers as a nearshore center. And so they have thousands of people working in call centers and support centers supporting U.S. corporations. That's one of their main industries in El Salvador. And I just had a call with a partner in El Salvador. She was educated at university in Georgia, Technical University. She went back to El Salvador and started the firm, which is now part of a much larger U.S. partner.
Hey, thanks for listening. I'm your host, Business Application MVP Mark Smith, otherwise known as the NZ365 Guy. If you like the show and want to be a supporter, check out buymeacoffee.com/NZ365 Guy. Thanks again, and see you next time.